Whoa. 1 second here. There we go. What's going on, everybody? What's shaking? What's doing? Hope you're all doing well. It is, what is it, Tuesday? It's Tuesday? Yeah, it's Tuesday. It was a long weekend here in Canada. It's Tuesday, no, it's August now, Dave. Tuesday, August the 6th, 2024, 11:05 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. My name's Dave McRae, coming to you live from the Voice Man Studios in Toronto, Canada. And this is episode 275 of McRae Live. 275. And some sad news to report from the world of Halloween and horror, of course. Charles Cyphers, who played, most famously, best known in the world of horror as Sheriff Lee Brackett in Halloween 1978, Halloween 2 1981, Halloween Kills 2021, has passed away at the age of 85. Charles Cyphers is dead. The age of 85. And of course, the news dropped at about, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, my time. And the trades picked it up and, we're talking about it, and it's unfortunate. And so, obviously I had to jump on here and quickly talk about this. And, I had only met Charles Cyphers once at the 40th anniversary Halloween convention, but it was a funny exchange because I had walked up to him and I had asked him. There was nobody there. It was sort of kind of a lull in the shenanigans that were going on, and he didn't have anybody at his table. So I went over and I introduced myself and I said, would you mind if I got a few thoughts on Halloween and the movie with you on camera? And he said, well, and he was with his handler, and he says, well, what's this for? And I said, well, it would just be for my YouTube channel. I have a YouTube channel. And he said, well, I don't know, where? I said, well, where am I from? He says, yeah. I said, well, I'm from Toronto. And he goes, so it'll be on the internet in Toronto? And I said, well, no, and then his handler, who was beginning to laugh, says, no, Charles, it's the internet's everywhere. It'll just be, he's from Toronto, but it'll just be, he's like, I don't think so. And he was the only one that turned me down. I don't know if it was because of his lack of understanding of technology, but everybody else I walked up to and asked if I could get a few words with them on camera, happily obliged. And but he was the only one that, I don't know if I just had a suspicious outfit that day. Maybe my pants looked suspicious. Maybe I had a weird grin. Maybe I had some mustard on my cheek or a piece of spinach in my teeth. I don't know. But there was something about me. He was just like, who the hell is this son of a bitch? What do you mean? You're from Toronto? You're from Toronto, eh? Damn Canadian. No, he didn't say that. But it was a funny exchange because I don't think he could quite grasp that the internet it's everywhere. It doesn't matter where you are, you can tap into it. It kind of reminds me a bit of the story with my own father when this is back, of course, obviously when my dad was alive, and he's been dead for 13 years now. But back in, I'd say, the mid 2000s, he was visiting, and he had to do a column because he was a writer, of course. For those of you that have been following me long enough know all about my dad. And he had to, I think he said he needed to go back to the hotel to open up his laptop to connect to the internet or something. There was something he needed to do online. And I said, well, Dad, you can just I can just take you here. You can do it here if you want to log in here. He goes, no, Dave, I need my computer. It's on the, I said, well, no, but you can log in. I said, you don't need, that's not, I said, if you have files on your hard drive, yeah, that means you got to go back to the hotel and go. But if you just want to like check your email or tap it, I said, you can do that here. We can continue to hang out. Wait. So it's not like the internet's not, he was kind of having the same sort of thing. Although my dad was known to be a bit of a ribber. So I think he was just kind of, farting around a little bit, but still there was a little bit of that, because my dad would be, how old would my dad this year would be 82. So he was only a few years, behind Charles Cyphers. So they're the same age, right? Essentially. And I remember saying, no, Dad, you don't need to, anyways. But hey, they come from a different era, right? My dad, came through in the golden age of, journalism and through the typewriters and all that stuff. So my dad I think he was just farting around a little bit. My dad was known to do that, but it kind of reminded me of that. And Charles, for whatever reason, he just couldn't quite understand that it wasn't going to be just on YouTube in Toronto. We're not North Korea here, Chuck. It'll be everywhere. It'll be everywhere. And he didn't want to do it. I don't know. I was very polite, I was cordial, polite, friendly, as I always am. And I think his handler, though, who was a nice young woman, I think she felt bad for me because I think she was trying to be like, Charles, just stop being a dick and just do it. Stop being a grumpy curmudgeon and just do it. Because he kind of came off a little bit grumpy. A little bit grumpy. Now, I don't know if it was just, who knows whether somebody peed in his cornflakes or whether he didn't have his Metamucil in the morning. I don't know. But he was a little bit grumpy. But who knows what was going on in his life. Maybe he just didn't want to be there. I don't know. But yeah, it's sad that he has passed away, but not surprising. Not surprising. I think I saw somebody I guess it would have been this morning, somebody had said gone too soon. I'm thinking, gone too soon? He's 85. He's 87. He can still watch. Gone too soon. All right. I think he lived quite the fulfilling and long life. He was 85 years old. And of course, Assault on Precinct 13, The Fog. He was in The Fog. That is another one. That, to me, is a highly underrated John Carpenter. Most people, when they rank John Carpenter movies, or not even rank them, when they talk about their favorite John Carpenter movies, The Fog from 1980, at least with my experience, very rarely makes it into anybody's list. And if it does, it's like down the it's number 9 or so. I don't know what it is. They Live, Prince of Darkness, Big Trouble in Little China, Escape from New York. They all, in a lot of people's lists, are all above The Fog. Not for me. Not for me. My top 3 Carpenter movies are Halloween, The Thing, and The Fog. And here's a hot take, I might put The Fog before The Thing. Ooh, oh yeah, hot take, baby. Hot take, fuckers. No, but it's true. It's true. I might do that. But no, I love The Fog, and I've always loved The Fog. And my sister Jill went and saw The Fog in the movie theater because she's 15 years older than me. So when the Fog came out, she was like, she would have been 16, I guess, because she was born in 1964. And because 1980. And she remembers telling the story about how I think she had a box of Smarties. Now, Smarties here in Canada are not what Smarties are in the US. Smarties here in Canada are kind of like M&Ms. They're chocolate, they're candy-coated chocolates. In the US, what you call Smarties, we call Rockets here in Canada. Anyway, so just think of a box of candy-coated chocolates, kind of like M&Ms. So she always tells this story about how she went to see The Fog in the movie theater, and there was some sort of moment, I don't know what it is because there's a few of them in there, that scared the beliving Jesus out of her, and she literally freaked out, tossed her entire Smarties all over, and they fell all over the ground and on the floor, and she was with her friend. It was a whole thing. And I asked Jill, I said, what was, she goes, I don't know. I'd have to, who knows, right? It was 44 years ago. But when I think of The Fog, I think of that funny story too. But yeah, he was in that, of course. And, he was he never went on to become an A-list actor or anything like that, but he was a bit part actor. He was a character actor who happened to be in some, have some cool roles in some early B horror movies. And certainly in the world of horror and Halloween, he's a legend. He's a legend. I wouldn't say he's a legend outside of that, but certainly in the horror space, certainly in the Halloween space, if you want to go horror and then whittle it down to even, more niche and go Halloween, of course, he's a Halloween legend. And, his role in Halloween Kills, I think, was just useless. I I say that with all due respect. I don't mean that in a nasty way. I'm looking at it from a filmmaking narrative perspective, and I think it was just useless. And there were a lot of cameos in that movie that, quite frankly, were just useless and didn't go anywhere and didn't, he didn't. It was great to see him back, I guess, but he had no bearing on anything, and it was just sort of, I just would have liked to have seen maybe a little bit more with him, maybe a scene with him and Laurie, perhaps, something that can give us a little something on the bone, because otherwise it's just, oh yeah, here you go. And it's like, well, what's the point of this? I don't, and his line where he says, "Hey, Michael, it's Halloween. I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare," makes no sense to me narratively. It never has. I get why it's there. I totally get why it's there. It's nothing but fan service. And I acknowledge that 100%. There's two ways to look at this, right? You just suspend your disbelief. It is what it is. It's fan service. We as fans go, "Ooh!" And everybody else in the theater is like, I don't fucking get it because I don't know the reference. And it's clearly a deep cut for us fans, right? Totally. And it works on that level and it's perfectly fine. Dave, shut the hell up. You know what I'm saying? But then I get into the narrative part of me and I'm like, is this something, would he even remember that? Like, is this something he says every Halloween? Like, I always, was under the impression that when he bumps into Laurie, it's an off the cuff shooting from the hip remark. It's not like his line. Is it his line, his go-to? Like, is he saying it to all the kids? It's just what, if Annie was that's just what Dad says. That Dad says that every year. Dad loves to say, well, it's Halloween. I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare. I never got that impression. I always got the impression that he was just shooting from the hip. He bumped his like, oh, excuse me, Laurie. Oh, that's okay. Well, hey, it's Halloween. I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare, huh? It was just kind of an off the cuff remark. And so 40 years later, was that really a pivotal moment in his life where he was like, you know what? Hey, Michael, it's Halloween. Has he been waiting 40 years to fucking dish that out? I've been waiting 40 years to say that fucking thing again. So it did come across as a little contrived. But because it's like, would he even remember that? I don't know. But that's me being anal and nitpicky and persnickety and all that. So I'm okay. It's fine. It's fan service. I get it because I can look at both sides, right? Totally look at both sides. But his role in Halloween Kills was a little underwhelming. It did feel kind of he was just there. And I understand at the time he was like 82 or 1 or 80 at least. He's not going to be bouncing around. I don't expect him to be part of the action, but I think narratively, I would have really appreciated to see a scene between him and Laurie at the end of the day. But nonetheless, Charles Cyphers dead at 85, and like I said, we are going to be prepared. As dark and as melancholy and as morbid as this may sound, we are entering the phase now in our own lives, at least my life, where, people are going to be passing away. People we grew up with, legends, and I mean real legends, not how people usually toss that word around, legends of cinema, of the screen, whether it's Harrison Ford, Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Clint Eastwood, Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, Martin Scorsese, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone. Did I say Arnold? I might have already. And it just goes on and on and on, right? John Carpenter, Kurt Russell. I'm not saying we're going to lose all these people tomorrow, but all of these people are up there. And, we are entering that phase now where over the next 10 years, 5 to 10 years, we're going to be getting now, Charles Cyphers, of course, is not a legend of the screen, but he's a legend in our own little horror Halloween circles, sure. And that's just a small example of a bigger I don't want to say issue, but a bigger situation that we're going to experience on a bigger level, when it comes to sort of legends in the space, people we grew up with. It's like my parents, when they got to a certain age, your Clark Gables and your Betty Davises and they all, your Joan Crawfords, they all began to go, right? You know what I mean? And now it's sort of our turn that we're seeing the people we grew up with begin to go, of course, Clark Gable was a little bit before my parents' time, although not really, though. My parents were born in the 40s. He was definitely a something in the 40s by then, for sure. But I just mean of that ilk, of that era, right? And but at the same time, too, from a certain perspective, the people I just mentioned are also from my parents' era as well, because they really caught fire in the 70s, which of course my parents were in their 30s in the 70s. So, but we grew up with a lot of these people, your Stallones and your Spielbergs and your Scorseses and your Schwarzeneggers and your Fords and your Eastwoods. We grew up with a lot of these people from a very, very young age, like from childhood. That's what I mean. So, we're entering that phase now where a lot of these, sadly, this is going to become a more commonplace. News is going to come down like, oh my God, so-and-so, holy shit. And it will be shocking, but it shouldn't be surprising. I mean, it's always sad when somebody passes away and they're quite young, like a Shannon Doherty or a Matthew Perry. I mean, that's quite sad because they were only in their 50s, I believe. And that's quite young. That is gone too soon for sure. And that's always sad and shocking, but there will always be those things too, for sure. But yeah, it's going to be interesting over this next while. And we're going to be doing more and more shows like this where it's like, oh God, so-and-so passed away, I was watching an interview with Sylvester Stallone and he said something, he's Sly Stallone. And I know we're talking about Charles here, but I just need to say this. Sylvester Stallone gets a lot of sort of flack because he's got the but he's not cognitively impaired. He has that, his voice is deeper and he has that sort of kind of thing on the left side or right side of his face, whatever it is, because he was paralyzed at birth. It was some sort of nerve that paralyzed him. It's an actual, so he's not just, he's not kind of simple-minded. He's quite smart and perfectly capable, but he sounds like this because of what happened to him at birth. But I've always found him quite insightful and quite intelligent and quite savvy. And he said something which is totally true. He said, for the first, like 40 years of your life, I think it was this, for the first 40 years of your life, or 35 years of your life, 40 years of your life, you are trying to get. For the next 20 years of your life, you're trying to keep. So 40 to 60, you're trying to keep. And then from 60 onwards, you begin to lose things. You're in sort of a perpetual state of losing things, right? You retire, you lose your job, right? Even if you weren't fired, you're losing that job, that life. You're losing friends and family to health and death and things like that. And again, it's a general statement. You can also lose things at any point in your life, but he just was speaking generally, kind of how it kind of generally is, those kind of stages of life. And it's totally true. It's totally true. Once you get past 60, not that you can't die at any age, but once you get past 60 especially, you are in that sort of, I'm beginning to lose things. I'm beginning to lose, my life is changing. I'm losing friends. I'm losing family. I'm losing movie stars that I, grew up with. I'm losing nostalgia. I'm losing, all these things. And it was a quite insightful, I mean, he said it way more insightful than I did, but as a 45-year-old man, it made me realize it's true. There is some truth to that. Anyways, so it was kind of a interesting thing, but yeah, Charles Cyphers dead at 85. what's your favorite Charles Cyphers movie? Halloween. I mean, he's never been a leading man, so he's always been a character actor and a complimentary player. And so I would say that for me, when I think of Charles Cyphers, I think of Halloween, certainly Halloween 2, although he was hardly in it. You let him out. I didn't let him out. You let him out. But hey, he was in Halloween too. And so I think of those two movies, of course, and I think of The Fog from 1980, because he had a bigger role in The Fog than he did in Halloween. I don't know if he had more screen time. Did he? I'm not sure. It felt bigger anyway. It felt bigger. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. But certainly it felt like he had a little more to do, but maybe he didn't. So I think of The Fog as well. And yeah, not surprising, but kind of like, it was bound to happen. Somebody's going to go soon, and you're like, good old Chuck. But yeah, for those of you that are just joining me, yeah, my favorite memory is when I met him at the 40th anniversary convention, and I had asked to get a few words with him on camera. He didn't want to do that. I don't know. He was the only one that turned me down. I don't know why. His handler tried to convince him, but I don't know. I guess he was suspicious of me for whatever reason, or no, I think he was just grumpy and in a bad mood. He was suspicious on where it was going to be used, and he couldn't quite understand that the internet is everywhere and it's not just in Toronto. So you're just going to put it on the internet in Toronto? That's what he said to me. And I said, no. It's going to be, I just want to ask you a few questions about Halloween and The Fog or something. Yeah, no, I don't want to do it. I don't feel. He just couldn't grasp. Maybe he'd felt better if I said, no, it's just going to be on the internet here in LA. It's just going to be right here in Pasadena, Chuck, just here. Oh, all right. Well, let's do it. Maybe. I don't know. But that was a funny exchange I will always remember with Charles Cyphers, how he couldn't quite connect the dots of how the internet works. It was such a funny thing. So rest in peace, Charles Cyphers. Condolences to his friends and family, of course. No matter how old you are and what age you are, it is difficult to lose a loved one. I imagine that he was a father, I believe, and probably a grandfather as well, maybe even a great-grandfather, who knows. Certainly he has family, so my condolences to his friends and his family. Charles Cyphers, Sheriff Lee Brackett, dead at 85. All right, folks, let's move over to the chat room and see what all you are saying. Josh McKenna sends in $9.99. Thank you, Josh. And says, Dick Van Dyke, my favorite actor, my favorite older actor who is still alive. Yes, he is. He's like 97 or 98. He's knocking on 100. And he's still really sharp, really with it. Absolutely. I love Dick Van Dyke. Love him. Wolfman's got nards. What's going on? Barry sends in a member chat and says, rest in peace, Charles Cyphers, one of Carpenter's main men. Legend. Yes, certainly in the world of horror, I would agree, right? I wouldn't say he's a film legend in general, but I certainly in the world of horror and especially Halloween and working with Carpenter, yes, for sure. And it's sad. It's unfortunate, but 85, that was a good run, a very, very, very good run for sure. Very good run for sure. Frank says, you want to know what's sad? Jamie Lee Curtis hasn't posted anything yet of his passing, but instead is promoting the election and Borderlands. There you go, Halloween fans. Well, yeah. Let's give it a day or two and see if she posts anything. If she doesn't post anything, then yeah, it's probably because she's too caught up in her, but it's not surprising. Look, when you have a platform like that, look at Mark Hamill. He just doesn't shut up about, politics, but at the same time, politicians use these, celebrities, because of their reach. And there's often an agreement in place. I think Mark Hamill was in the Oval Office with Biden a few months back. So I'm sure there was at least a verbal agreement that, listen, Joe, I believe in you. Fuck this Donald Trump guy. Fuck this bastard. I'm going to help promote anything I can. And so he does, because he's got millions of followers. And as much as and this isn't a what side of the aisle you fall on, I'd be saying the same thing if it happened to be any side of it. I don't want to, I don't follow Mark Hamill to hear him, preach about Kamala Harris. Kamala? I don't know. I follow him, but at the same time, he has every right to do that. Yes, it's free. Hey, he has every right to do whatever he wants. But yeah, a lot of celebrities, and Jamie Lee Curtis is one. She's very active and a social activist, and she'll be out there. Maybe she hasn't heard yet. It's entirely possible because, it dropped in the trades at like 3 o'clock in the morning, my time, which would have been like midnight her time. Maybe maybe she's on set. She's shooting Freaky Friday 2, I believe, if it hasn't wrapped already. So, maybe she just hasn't got wind of it. And maybe later today we'll see a post, or tomorrow or something. I don't know. But it's possible she may not have heard. It's possible. It's possible, because has Carpenter said anything yet? I don't know. Has John Carpenter said anything? I'm not sure. Maybe he has. I don't know. You never know. Robert Kitzmiller says, quote, Stallone said that hit me once was, when you're young, you think you have this abundant of time, but when you get older, you have more road behind you than ahead. You realize time is more valuable, is the most valuable currency. It's true. Oh yeah, no, it's true. Again, I'm 45, so I'm not old, but I'm certainly not, super duper young. And so I am, for all intents and purposes, I've hit sort of that middle age point, in that ballpark. And that's if I was to live to like 85 or 90. My parents died young. My dad was 69. My mother was 67. My mom's mom was 58 when she died in the early 80s. Now, I also have people in my family that have lived into their 80s and 90s. So that's not to say that I'm going to die young, but you think about those things, right? You think about those things. I'm 45. If I only make it to my parents' age, I only have another 25 years left. If you look at it from that perspective, right? So I'm hoping I can make it into my 80s, like some of my grandparents have, and then I have great aunts who lived to nearly 100. They were well into their 90s. So I'm hoping that, fingers crossed, I can be one of those people. But there's no guarantees. That's the whole point, right? There's no guarantees. So when you do hit a certain age, yeah, it can become, it's scary, and again, I'm not here to say that I'm old. I'm not old, but I'm not young. I'm 45. I'm 5 years away from 50. So, I am hitting that middle age point. And I do think about those things. I think about what I've accomplished, what I still want to accomplish, regrets that I have in my life, things I wish I could change, things I should have said, things I'm proud of. You hit a certain age and you do start to hear those things. Now, I'm fortunate that I haven't had anybody in my life yet outside of like my mom and dad and things like that have passed, that have really affected me. But it's going to happen. It's inevitable. It's only a matter of time. And so it's an overused cliche to say things like to live in the moment. It is, but at the same time, it's vitally important, to really remember that. It can be a scary thing. And I think as we get older, it is true. As you gain more life experience, as you gain better perspective, then I think as you gain more life experience, as you gain more perspective, I think, you have a better perspective on life and those types of things, and what really matters. You know what I mean? The Classically Deceased sends in $2, says he canceled H45, wanted to meet him, health comes first. Yeah, well, yeah, so maybe it was related, maybe it wasn't. H45 was, almost a year ago, so it might not have been related. It may have been a contributing factor, but he may have just been under the weather too. So I don't know if it's come out yet of what he's passed from, but I'm not really sure. We'll see. Tabitha Short says, Dave, she has a phone. It's the first thing I saw when I turned my phone on. You're very nice, giving her the benefit of the doubt. Well, to be fair, Tabitha, it depends, right? Yes, she's got a phone. We all have phones. But if she's on set shooting, she's not going to have that phone in her hand. And if when the news breaks, and again, look, is there a good chance that she knows? Sure. Is there a good chance that she doesn't know? Sure. But also, just because she hasn't said anything yet doesn't mean she won't say anything. Maybe she's formulating a nice message and she just hasn't posted it yet. That's always possible too, right? You know, we live in an era where people are knee jerk and as soon as they hear news, they post right away. But Jamie Lee Curtis, you know, has a big following. What she posts, you know, matters in the sense of she has to be careful how she posts something, what she posts. And so she's probably formulating, my guess would be, a nice sort of written thing about Charles and her experience working with him. And that will be posted either later, probably later today. I will be very surprised if this whole thing goes over and weeks go by and months go by and she never acknowledged it. I don't think I'd be very shocked. But it all depends on when the news drops. And she may have seen it. To your point, she may have seen it, but she may not have posted anything yet because she may want to think about what she's going to say before she posts. And she doesn't have time to post at that moment because she's on set. And when you're on set, you do not have your phones in your pockets. They are in your dressing room, in your trailer. So yeah. So I mean, folks, the news just dropped like literally 10 hours ago. So, you know, I think we need to be patient. But we'll see. We'll see if she posts anything. We'll see. Have I got all the super chats? I just want to make sure I'm not missing any. I don't think so. All right. Reese Wilson said, it'll probably be a heart attack for me. Oh, I'll ride that thing out like Red Fox on Sanford and Son. I'm coming, Elizabeth. Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy to think, isn't it? Like we don't know. My dad died of a heart attack. My mom passed away of cancer. So I mean, those are like two of the most common ways to go. You know, I do take care of myself as best I can. I mean, I'm 45 now, and you know, we always could eat a little better, but you know, I run 3 days. I've been running since I was 16 years old. So I try to run 7 to 10 kilometers 3 days a week. And I do that. So I'm in shape. Like I'm not fat, you know, I'm slim. I'm trying to be as healthy as I possibly can. I don't eat a lot of junk. I don't eat a lot of fried foods. That doesn't mean you won't go at any time. There's lots of healthy people that drop dead, but, you know, I try to do that. My dad smoked a little bit. He was a little overweight, so that probably contributed. My mom's cancer. I mean, she didn't smoke a day in her life, but she got lung cancer. It's like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? It's crazy, but it's unfortunate, but I don't know. You know, all we can do is it's true. We just have to live in the moment, live in the now, do the best we can. And it's a crapshoot. I mean, we're all going to go. We're all going to the same place. We're all going to go. And the best we can do is just live every moment to the best that we can. Because at the end of the day, and I firmly believe this, not to get all sort of spiritual on you. I'm not a religious person in the slightest, but there's a spiritual aspect to me. And if I had to say what the meaning of life is, I would say that it is to learn. And I don't mean learn formally. I just mean learn through experiences. You know, don't make, you know, learn, treat people with kindness, you know, treat people how you want to be treated and learn to grow as a person and to learn from your mistakes and to learn and learn and learn. Because at the end of the day, you know, again, I'm removing the religious aspect out of it. I know there are a lot of devout religious people that watch me, but I'm just going to remove that out of it for a second here because I want to talk more objectively. Nobody knows truly what happens when we die. And so, but if our consciousness does survive, right? If we do go on in some sort of form, let's say, the only thing, if there is anything that we could take with us, right? Because we can't take anything material. We can't take anything physical. We can't take our cars or our homes or our water bottles or my computer or you know, the camera or our phones, or nothing. Like we literally can't take anything. But if there's one thing we can take with us, it would be knowledge, what we've learned, right? If there is a separation between you know, the psyche and the, you know, consciousness and the mind, right? Consciousness and the brain. right? Right now, the general consensus is from neuroscientists that the brain is what produces consciousness. However, there is enough circumstantial evidence to point in that direction, but there is no concrete evidence for it. There's no concrete evidence on how a brain cell produces a thought and all that kind of stuff. It's a whole thing. I was reading up on this. It's fascinating stuff. But hypothetically, if there is a separation, right, it's the only thing that makes sense that we might take with us is what we've learned, right? What we've learned, our experiences and what we've learned. And so I've often said, if there is a meaning to life, well, that's probably it, is to learn and to grow as a human being. To have this experience as a human. And it's, and that doesn't mean you can't have fun and splurge and buy cars and fancy homes and computers and phones and shoes and what. No, of course, that's part of the fun, but it's about balance. It's about perspective. And I think as long as we don't lose that perspective and, we are mindful of what truly matters in life and what is really important and to learn from our mistakes, because none of us are perfect. We all make mistakes, some bigger than others, but we all do. And as long as we learn from those mistakes, then that's what it's all about. And we only truly fail in life if we consciously continue to make the same mistakes out of sheer willful ignorance or ego or whatever the case is, or just because we're cruel and mean. But if we make a mistake and we genuinely understand the mistake and we move forward to be better, and then that's all we can do, right? And I think that really is the meaning of life at the end of the day. So there you go. And I don't think you have to be religious at all. That's not a religious thing at all. That has nothing to do with religion. That's just, kind of feels common sense to me. But anyway. Chester Franklin Jr. says, Dave, did you ever like his performance in Escape from New York? I like his performance. Rest in peace, Charles Cyphers. Everyone's titled One Good Scare. You know what? I haven't seen Escape from New York in so many years that I completely forgot he was in it. So I can't even put a vision or a thought to Charles Cyphers in Escape from New York. I'd have to think about that. Brandon Collins says, I think you just shut down like a computer. It's the same existence as before you were born. And you could be right. You could be right. You could be 100% right. I think, Brandon, there is enough, and I've talked about this before when I've talked about my experience with the paranormal. And you guys know me, if you follow me for any length of time, you know that I always look at this kind of subject from a very grounded, objective point of view. I'm not somebody that gets caught up in the woo-woo of it, because I think there's too much of that. I believe, and this is based on my experience, I believe and having a belief in something is not evidence of that something existence. We can believe in all the shit all we want, but the belief in and of itself is not the evidence of the existence of whatever you believe in, right? A belief is just, it's just a belief. It's fate, right? Or faith. And there's nothing wrong with that, but the belief isn't the evidence. And I think a lot of people think that, no, it's not. Anyway, this is what I believe. And it's based on my experience. I believe there is enough, at the very least, circumstantial evidence, and there's a lot of it, to point in the direction of there may be something that survives the process of death. And again, I'm removing the religious aspect out of it because every religion around the world has their own idea of what happens. And so I'm trying to look at it a bit more objectively. And that doesn't mean that, certain people aren't correct. But again, we don't know. And so, but I believe there's enough circumstantial evidence at the very least to point that there's a possibility that I like to look at it from a bit more of a scientific perspective, which is that consciousness, awareness survives the process of death. And that perhaps the brain is the facilitator, is like the computer. The brain is the computer, but consciousness is like the internet. And so like without the computer, our consciousness does survive. Our consciousness does go on. Our awareness does go on, even after the brain dies, because the brain and the mind and consciousness are separate. I think there is enough circumstantial evidence, at the very least, to point in that direction that may be true. That may be true. And I mean it from a scientific perspective. I don't mean it from a woo-woo watching ghost hunting shows perspective. And don't get me wrong, those are fun. But I mean like from a scientific perspective. I've read this great book called Erasing Death by Dr. Sam Parnia, who studied this whole thing. And he's sort of the world leader in consciousness and the mind and things like that. And he's a lead emergency doctor at some New York hospital or something. Anyway, fascinating. Like that's how I like to tackle it. Because when we talk about ghosts and spirits and paranormal, we can go around the merry-go bush until the cows come home with these ghost hunting shows, and we go out there and they're all fun. It's all great, but there are no answers. You know what I mean? It's just ghost hunting shows. People go around going, and then at the end of the show, they look at their photos, they listen to their EVPs, and then the show ends, the credits roll, and we do it again next week. And there's nothing really I'm like, if we want to know what happens when we die, if we truly want to know if there is something that happens when we die, then we have to study when we die. We have to study from a scientific perspective what happens to the brain, what happens to the cells. And there are people that are doing this. And if we want to know if consciousness survives, then that's what we have to do. We have to do our best. And they're making gains in that. And I find that interesting because, and maybe we'll never know, and maybe it's impossible to know, but there are studies that have been done, where, as you know, where people will die, they will be clinically dead, no brain activity, no heart activity. So the computer is off. So there shouldn't be any memories or anything's firing. There's no neurons that are firing or anything. And then they will be resuscitated. They've been dead for like 5 minutes. They'll be resuscitated and they can recall conversations with their family 2 doors down the hall. And it's like, how is that possible? Like, how is that even, that's fascinating to me. And to study that from a scientific perspective and to figure out where the brain and consciousness and awareness, where all that lies and how that, because I think that at the end of the day, if you can find where the seed of consciousness lies, then you can start to move forward. I know it's not fun and it's all scientific and it's all sort of, heavy, and it's not as fun as the woo-woo, let's go ghost hunting. I get that. And there's a place for that. There's a place for all that, but it doesn't answer any questions. Like, it doesn't tell us anything other than this place might be haunted. You know what I'm saying? I like now at this stage of my life, I'm like, okay, let's actually look at this. Let's see if we can figure something out, right? Like, look at my don't EVP, right? Don't, like, where is that? Who is that? What is that? Is it consciousness? Like, is it conscious? Is it another dimension? Is it that's where I want to focus on. And I think there's enough circumstantial evidence at the very least to point in that direction, that there may be something going on here. There might be something going on. I don't mean, and I say this with all due respect to any religion out there, and I'm not to say that whatever happens when we die isn't the religious perspective. I don't know. I literally don't know. I'm just saying that nobody knows. Having a belief in something isn't the evidence of that something's existence, right? And so, but I do believe there is enough circumstantial evidence to point us in a direction that there may be more here. There may be something more that we don't understand. And listen, things we don't understand may feel supernatural or paranormal, but it could only be because we don't understand it. And then once we understand it and we can measure it and we understand how it's done, the supernatural becomes the natural, right? I mean, thunder and lightning were supernatural millions of years ago to people who didn't understand it. They thought it was the gods coming down and, fire and rain and it was, but now we understand that all that shit is actually quite natural and there's nothing supernatural about it. And so there are things about the cosmos and the universe and consciousness and awareness and humans and minds and that we probably have no fucking idea. We literally don't know. And so, and it can be scary, but once we do know, it could be quite like, oh, you know what? This isn't supernatural at all. This is quite natural. We just thought it was supernatural because we just didn't know anything about it. So that's where I am. I've always kind of been there. And that's why I can only watch so much of those ghost shows because it's just like, it's the same shit over and over again. And most of this shit is faked. You know what I mean? So anyway, that's where I am. Brady James becomes a member. What's going on, Brady? Thanks, buddy, for becoming a member. Level number 2. Really appreciate that. Thank you. Did I miss any super chat? No, I got that super chat there. Just want to make sure I'm not missing anybody. If you're just joining, thank you for joining this morning. Rest in peace, Charles Cyphers, dead at 85. Halloween, The Fog, Halloween 2, Assault on Precinct 13, Escape from New York, and a bunch of television as well. Charles Cyphers did a bunch of television as well. So it's good stuff. Let me see here. Josh McKenna fires in a very generous super chat of $19.99. Thank you, Josh. And says, you did several pet peeve videos. One of my pet peeves is when people leave their cart in the middle of the aisle. It happened to me yesterday. A lady left her cart and I had a hell of a time getting around it to get my item. Yeah, that's just lack of objective awareness, right? You know, like there are so many people that, they'll push their cart and they'll leave it in the middle of the aisle and then go and walk down the aisle to look at something. And I'm like, first of all, you should just take your cart with you. Second of all, if you're going to leave your cart, just move it over to the side, move it against the, there's so much of that. I'm about ready to do another pet peeves video, Josh. I want to do another one. I haven't, there's been some I've been sort of, circulating and trying to come up with some. There's so many. Yeah, of course I've done a lot too. But I like doing the pet peeves one because, and some I'm just so like, I think the most annoying pet peeves are the ones that everybody on the face of the planet complains about. Do you know what I mean? Like, there are some pet peeves that if you were to ask almost everybody, they'd all go, oh yeah, I hate that. But then you see somebody doing that and you're like, you're doing that thing that I have no doubt if I were to ask you if you hate when people do that, you'd be like, oh yeah, I hate that. You're doing it. Like talking during movies. Again, I've talked about this in a pet peeve. I don't understand it. I don't fucking understand. Like, I literally don't understand it. I don't get it. It is mind-boggling to me that people still to this day talk during movies. Still to this day. I don't care if you lean over and you whisper something, right? Like if you lean over to your buddy's ear and you get really, close to his ear and you're like, hey, that was fucking amazing. What a shot. Holy shit, I love that. And then they may be like, yeah, totally. It was awesome. Like, that's okay because nobody can hear you. But I'm talking about the holy fuck. Oh yeah. Shut up. What are you doing? And maybe it's an age thing. But one of the things that I don't like, and I don't care how fucking excited you are for a movie, one of the things that grinds my gears, and it usually doesn't happen to me because I'm usually not going to the movie theater to see movies where this would happen. It's usually in the Marvel movies, the DC movies, the comic book movies, because those fans are so rabid. And when something will happen in the movie, and listen, I sound like such a party pooper when I say this. I don't want to take away people's enjoyment. I don't want to take away people's excitement. I get it. I understand it. You're having a good time. You're having fun. And listen, I guess if the entire theater is doing it, then okay. But when I watch these videos online that are taken in the movie theater and something cool will happen on screen, and it's usually one of these superhero movies, and the entire theater is like, and it's like that for like a minute, and the dialogue is happening on screen, and I'm like, you can't fucking hear what they're saying. Shut up.
I can't hear what they're saying. I can't, like, what are you, 7? Like, it's just, what are you doing? Can't you be excited internally? Can't you have an internal, oh, fuck, this is amazing. Why do you have to yell and scream like you're in the 8th grade? Maybe they are in the 8th grade. Maybe that's the problem. Oh my God, it is the most annoying thing of all time. I don't know how you people stand it. Unless you're part of this, unless you just love it. But like 5 minutes will go by and you've missed 5 minutes of dialogue, but you don't care. Deadpool's on screen. It's like, I just shut up. Shut the fuck up. I would never, like, I don't care what the movie is. I don't care how excited I am. I don't care. Can't you, like, I've never been that way. I've never been somebody to be like, like in the theater, like jumping up popcorn for, like, what is going on? Is this an age thing? Is it an age thing? I don't know. Maybe it's not. Maybe I'm just a party pooper and people are going to comment and be like, Dave, you're just an old fucking fart. You're no fun. Shut up. You're just a lame ass old fucking fart, no fun man. I mean, I am 5 years away from 50. So maybe that's, but man, I'm just like, I'd lose my mind. I couldn't, like, I don't mind screams during a horror movie. I don't mind, like, cheers. I don't mind cheers. Like, something comes like, woo, all right, yeah. I don't mind that. I'm talking about the sustained, epic losing it, you know, for like, and people are like up and like this, and, you know, you can't see the screen now, and they're like, fuck's down, like you're at a fucking, like, NHL playoff game, or you're at, like, you know, the Super Bowl or something. That's not what this is, man. That's not what this is. Like, you know, you got people behind you. You got, like, this isn't a sporting event. I don't mind cheers. I don't mind little cheers. Like, woo! You know what I'm saying? Like, all right. You know, you get excited. I totally get it. But it's like fleeting. It's like a couple of seconds or something. You know what I mean? Or some clapping. Like, you know, when something happened, like, woo! I don't mind that. But what's with the sporting event shit? Like, popcorn fly. Oh my God. Like, go out and touch grass, man. Like, holy shit. Is it just me? Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. But fuck, that's annoying. I can't stand that. Oh my God. Wolfman says, come to the UK. We're more civil in the cinema. Well, funny enough, I've never experienced that in a movie theater here in Canada. To be fair, like I said, I don't usually go to those types of movies. And now you might be saying, well, then what are you complaining about? No, I'm just saying that's how I would feel if you did that in a movie I was watching. And when I see it on screen, like, you know, so, I don't know, somebody's posted a video to, you know, one of the DC movies or one of the Marvel films, and they've taken it in the theater, and I see that happening, I get like secondhand, you know, anxiety. I get secondhand annoyance. I watch it and I'm like, oh my God, that's so annoying. Oh my God, I'd be like George Costanza in that Seinfeld episode. Of course, I'm probably dating myself and half you probably don't know what I'm talking about. But I'm just like, oh, that's so annoying. You know what I mean? So now maybe it happens here as well. It might. Last superhero movie I went to see that had any stakes. I usually go to see movies where that's not likely to happen. But yeah, I don't know how you guys do it. Unless it's just par for the course. Unless when you go into a movie like a Deadpool movie or a big Marvel movie like Avengers, and I get it. People have waited so long, 22 movies, Avengers Endgame. Oh my God. I get it. I do get it. I'm not an idiot. I get it. But it's just not me. Like I can get excited internally. You know, I can get excited internally and be like, oh fuck yeah, this is awesome. This is awesome. Without losing my shit, tossing my popcorn, screaming and yelling like I'm in the 8th grade, you know, and like and I know I'm probably going to get some hate for this, but hey, that's how I feel, man. I'm just like, oh my, because it goes on and on and on and on. And like 5-10 minutes will go by before people settle down. It's like, I just missed 10 minutes of the movie. Like, what the hell happened? I don't know. That's just me. Party pooper Dave.
Roberto Torres sends in $4.99. Thanks, buddy. Says, but Dave, for me, Christianity allows the possibility for demon spirit, supernatural elements. I think that's why most demon movies scare me. Well, that would be true. That would be true for sure. Yeah. I mean, if you're a devout Christian and you believe in the devil and all that kind of stuff, then for sure that would absolutely have that effect. Absolutely. Mike Mullen sends in $10. Thanks, Mike. Says, you may be familiar with Eckhart Tolle. I am. He taught me about the present moment. If you're not familiar with him, you're quite wise with your interpretation of consciousness versus unconscious energy. Well, I appreciate that. I am familiar with who he is, but I haven't dove deep into him or his writings. This is just something I've been dealing with my whole life. I mean, it really stemmed from my second year of college when I had that experience. And then I began to really sort of look into it and read about it and really dive into deep things and, about consciousness, spirituality, a bit of religion in there and that's how I'm able to look at things a bit objectively. I think, nobody knows. Nobody knows the answer of what happens. There are people that believe in what they believe in and think they know because of their faith, and that's fair. But nobody truly knows. And it's okay to say, I don't know. And I don't know. I'm just basing on my experience. But I've always had a fascination with this topic. This is not something I'm just shooting from the hip from. So if it feels like I'm quite informed on the topic, it's just because I've been, it's not usually something I talk about here on the channel because we're usually talking about movies and entertainment. But it is a topic that I'm quite fascinated in and can talk and hold my own in a conversation on it. I certainly don't claim to be an expert at all, but it is something that I can do and can talk about. So, hey, I just saw we had 200 people in here. Amazing, 200 people. Now it's dropped down to 185. But thank you to all for joining. Appreciate it. We're now in the segment of the show where we're talking about other things. But yes, rest in peace, Charles Cyphers. Oh, hang on a sec. I think I've lost. Am I still live? I think I'm still live. Am I still live? I think I am. I lost a bit of, oh, wait. Hang on. Am I still live? Can you guys hear me? Can you guys see me okay? Hang on. Not sure what's happening there. Oh, wait. Hang on. Can you guys hear me? Can you guys see me okay? Yeah, there's a bit of okay. Still live. Okay. I know some things are a little problematic. Okay. I think we're live again. Sorry, there was a bit of a hiccup. There was a bit of a hiccup there. My apologies. There was a bit of a hiccup. I'm not sure what was going on there. Bit of a connection issue. Not really sure. It's raining here today, so maybe that's it. I don't fucking know. I'm looking for excuses. I know some other super chats did come in, so let me get these. Peter Juan has been a member, sends in a member chat, says, last time I went to the movies, I had to literally say, shut the fuck up to the guy next to me. His chewing sounded like a horse. Had to ask him 3 times. I'd rather stay home and watch movies now. It's so disappointing, isn't it, when people aren't mindful of that kind of thing. It's like, listen, when I go to the movie theater, here's a tip for all of you out there. When you go to the movie theater, if you have to check your phone, just turn the brightness down. Just turn the brightness down. Why is your brightness not, just turn it down? Because the movie theater is so dark, if you turn your brightness down, you can still see your messages and still see your phone, but it's not so bright that it's intrusive to everybody around you. Do you know what I'm saying? Just turn your brightness down. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yeah, it's crazy. Reese Wilson, $7.99. Thanks, Reese. Says, not to blow smoke up your ass, but your Halloween 2018 sequel idea would have given Charles Cyphers a better return, a better arc, and a better send-off. Well, I can feel the smoke going into my rectal cavity right now. Thank you, Reese. No, I agree. I agree with you, Reese. I think it would have, there we go. I think it would have as well. And Yeah, I mean, again, it gives him more to do, and I don't know if Charles Cyphers would have been up for that, if that would have been something he would have done, if he would have been physically able to do it. I was imagining more of a Charles Cyphers maybe 20 years prior. We're having a little bit of issues again with the stream. I'm not sure why that is, why there is an issue with the stream. Oh well. We'll continue on here a little bit longer. Yeah, I'm not sure why. I'm having a bit of an issue with the stream, folks. So my apologies if it buffers or if it hiccups a little bit. My apologies on that. Super chat from Andrew Stevens, one of our great mods. Andrew Stevens says, forget monthly Halloween members stream. Let's do Dave Gets Off My Lawn episodes. I'll buy that for $1. Yeah, I should do more pet peeves. Oh my God, it can be frustrating. Oh my goodness. So annoying. Did I get all? I think I've got them all. I got that one, that one. Yes. Okay. I've got them. Yeah. And again, folks, if the stream seems a bit wonky, some buffering, but it's not too bad, says Jamie Hart. Thank you, Jamie. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. Hey, it happens, right? Technology, it happens. So my apologies. At least we're through the bulk of the main part of the stream anyway. Because we had 200 people in here, which was amazing. But then, of course, I think the hiccups in the stream forced people to leave because, people have the attention span of a TikTok viewer. No, I get it. I'm just busting people's balls. I get it. Wolfman Scott Nard says, if people can't wait 2 to 3 hours to check their phone, something is clearly more important than the movie. Don't go to the cinema in that case. Here. I agree. Whenever I admit that if I'm watching a movie, I never check my phone. I will check my phone before the movie, and I will put the brightness down on my phone. I will put my phone on vibrate, and you know where I put my phone? I put it under my leg. I put it under my leg as I'm sitting in the theater, or just kind of, or on my leg even, but I put it face down so that if a message, and I put the brightness all the way down. So so I'm very prepared that way. And and there's never anything, I'll be honest with you. There is literally, I don't have kids. So there is never anything that is so important that I need to check my phone during a movie. Unless I'm waiting on an email from my agent. Right? Unless there's something to come in from my agent where I'm like, it's a contractor's and it's like time is of the essence, whatever. Maybe that might be a scenario where I'm checking my phone to kind of see. But if I feel the need to do that, the brightness is all the way down and I'm doing one of these, like I'm in my seat and I'm kind of doing like one of these to look, whatever. I'm very cognitive, unless I'm in the theater alone and there's nobody around me. Well, okay. But it is shocking to me still the amount of people today that not only check their phones multiple times throughout the movie, but check it with the brightness up or don't turn their phones off. So you're sitting there and you're, and of course, then that causes anxiety for them because they realize that they shouldn't have had their phone on. So now they're in a frenzy trying to turn it off, and they're like, "Oh my God!" and they've lost all sight and all control of how to turn it off because they're in a frenzy. I'm so sorry. It's just like, just fucking turn it on silent before the movie. Or just fucking throw your phone in the garbage before you walk into the theater. I don't know. It's crazy to me. It's crazy. All right, what's the time here? Oh, God, I don't know what the time is. We still got a little bit of time. I've had to start the OBS over again, so I don't actually have the amount of time we've been on. But I can look at the clock, and yeah, we've been on for about an hour and 10 minutes or so. Let me see here. Ethan 6581 says, parents bringing their loud children into the theater is the absolute worst. I can tolerate some mild banter and yelling, but bringing your toddler? Why? A babysitter or just don't go? Yeah, I like, unless it's a, and the parent has to be prepared to leave as well. It's look, I mean, bring your little kids to theaters that are kid-friendly movies. Fine. Okay.
If I go into a kid-friendly movie, like if I'm going to go watch Despicable Me or, Frozen, like I am mentally prepared that there's going to be a lot of children. There may be crying, there may be, kid laughing, that's the movie I'm in, right? So I'm prepared for that. But if I go see Longlegs or Trap or, I don't know, I go see, I was going to say Deadpool versus Wolverine, but that, but if I go see a movie that kids shouldn't be in, I don't care. I don't care if you couldn't get a babysitter, then you wait till you get a babysitter. I don't care. Don't bring that child in. First of all, what do you bring the child into a movie like that for anyway? But it's just like, I don't want to hear your fuck. And if your kid begins to cry, I don't mean just a little, I don't mean that. Everybody has a threshold of tolerance. I'm not a complete, I'm not an idiot. Okay. I understand that there's a threshold, right? Your kid begins to whimper, your kid begins to cry. I'm not going to immediately out of my chair go, shut the fuck. No, there's a threshold. There's a buffer, right? Let the parent take control of it, let get under control. But if your kid is, I don't want to, take the kid out of the theater. Remove yourself from the theater. You have to do it. You do it for you do it for the child, and you do it for the other movie-going patrons. You have to do it. It's just common decency. It's just common respect. Yet, what do you want? You want to sit there and suffer through it and have all these eyeballs on you? You're not listening to the movie anyway. You're not paying attention to the movie anyway because your mind is so focused on your kid and you feel all this social anxiety about your kid crying in front of everybody in the movie theater. How could you as a parent could be possibly enjoying the movie anyway? So just leave. What enjoyment are you getting from listening to the movie with your kid crying? And you're just like, no, I paid to see this movie. I'm just going to sit here. Just going to sit on my lap, little Johnny. Sit on my lap, you little bastard. Just sit there and just watch the movie. Just watch it. You as a parent cannot possibly be enjoying yourself through that, right? Nobody thinks you're this horrible individual that you deserve to die. But for God's sakes, read the room and be like, hey, you know what? Johnny's beginning to act up a little bit more than a little. That's okay. Everybody can tolerate that. That's okay. That's fine. It's okay. Right? Maybe some people can't, but I can. We know we're not idiots. But if Johnny's like, remove the kid. Take the kid out. Remove them, man. You got to remove them. You do, because now it's a disruption and you're responsible because you're the parent. And, listen, you might be a wonderful person. And the last thing you want is somebody like me standing up and being like, hey, shut up. Take your fucking kid out. Take little Child's Play out. Take Chucky. Take little fucking Chucky. And, you don't want that because then that's going to add a whole other level of embarrassment, right? You know what I'm saying? And then if you're with your husband like, hey, shut up, man. Don't speak to my wife like that, bruh. Don't speak to my wife like that, bruh. Hey, bruh. Hey, bruh. And I'll be like, no, you shut up. He's like, no, you shut up. And then now we're going back and there's a fight. And there's a fight going on. And nobody wants that. Just take little Johnny and remove him and take him out into the hallway. You know what I'm saying? And then that's it. And then it's all good. It's all good. And then it sounds like, a bunch of gremlins. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. That's how it goes down. That's how it goes down. What? That's how it goes down. Okay, Andrew Stevens was the last super chat. I just want to make sure I didn't miss any there. I just want to make sure I didn't miss any. Let me see. Just trying to get some people. There's a lot of people in here today, which is great. Hey, we topped, before I had a technical issue, we topped at over 200, which was great. Still sitting at 160, which is amazing. Alley Girl says, I never took my son to movies that weren't kid-friendly until he was like 9. I would have left if I had done anything wrong. Same. I don't recall ever going to see, un-kid-friendly movies when I was that age. I get that, well, we really want to see it, so we have to take our kid. No, but come on. You're better than that. Like, this might sound a little harsh, but if you're a parent, and let's say you really want to see Longlegs, okay? You're a parent, you really want to see I want to fucking see Longlegs. Okay. Hey, that's awesome. And the only way you can do it is if you bring little Johnny. That's the only way you can do it.
and you make the decision to bring little Johnny, I question your ability to parent. Maybe that's a little harsh. Not only because little Johnny shouldn't really be seeing anything in Longlegs, but because of what I just went through. I don't need to go through that whole theatrical shtick again. It's like, why? Unless little Johnny is so well behaved and little Johnny is just like, never says a word, okay. But if you know your child is problematic, if you know your child is likely, because listen, depending on the age, right? Sitting for 2 hours for a kid is a long time, right? Especially if they're high attention, maybe attention deficit disorder, like who knows, right? It depends on the child. It depends on the parent. All I'm saying is if you know your child, there is a high probability that your child is not going to be able to sit through that 2 hour movie and is going to cause a ruckus and start talking and being loud and annoying. And you're likely going to be embarrassed and have to take the kid out. Don't bring the child to the theater. Don't do it. I don't care if you want to see the movie. Then get your get Julie, get Bob, get your mom, get your dad, throw them in daycare. I don't know. When your kid's in school or when your kid's in kindergarten or I don't know. Do it then. Don't bring your child. Don't bring your child. It's the way I look at it, folks. Frank Reiger says, Dave says the same thing to parent about their kids on airplanes. Get the fuck out at 30,000 feet. Exactly. When I'm at 30,000 feet and I'm flying somewhere and there is a baby that take that baby, kick open the door and toss the baby. I'm telling you, you gotta toss that baby into the air. Obviously, I'm joking, folks. Just some dark humor. You know, there's somebody going, oh, it's so offensive. Oh my God, it's so offensive. It's just some dark humor, folks. I would never, ever toss a baby out at 30,000 feet. They'd have to be at least be 2 years old. Daniel says, this is for my Annie. Sheriff Brackett, Dave 2018 script. Yeah, that's right. It was for that. It was from that. Yeah. No, I had Charles Cyphers. I had Sheriff Brackett, a huge part of that film. And I'll be honest with you. I got made fun of a little bit for how I chose to off Sheriff Brackett in my 2018 movie. But I can tell you, it was way better than how they offed him in Halloween Kills. At least he had a good moment. At least he stood toe-to-toe with Michael Myers. At least it was very moody and atmospheric. And at least he had a nice arc up to that point, and he was about to avenge his daughter's death. And it didn't go the way that he wanted, but, you know, this was just sort of, it was a lot better. I'll tell you. It was a lot better, in my opinion, if I do say so myself. Jamie Hart. Did you not become a member already? No, that was somebody else. Jamie Hart becomes a member. Level number 1. Thank you very much, Jamie. Welcome to the McCrazy world here. Welcome to the McCrazy world. Really appreciate you supporting the channel like that. Thank you very much. Austin Travis says, my parents took me to see Freddy vs. Jason when I was 8. I thought it was awesome, something I will never forget. Well, eight's not too bad. 8, I think when we talk about kids, we're talking about like little kids, like, 2, 3, 4, like toddlers. Like when you're 8, I mean, you're still very young, but when you're 8, you're of an age where you can sit through a movie in a theater from start to finish without issue, right? I mean, maybe you might have to go to the bathroom. I don't know. But when you're 8 years old, unless you just have awful parents, when you're 8 years old, I would like to think that at 8 years old, most 8-year-olds are aware that they're in an environment where they have to be quiet, right? Or where they have to be hush hush. When you're 2 or 3, you don't understand that. And not that at 8 years old, you're like cognitively brilliant, but I would like to think at 8, 9, 10, you know what I mean? Like you're in that age range where you're in an environment where you can't just start yelling and screaming. But it would depend on the kid and depend on the child and depend on, but I'm talking more like toddler, like 2, 3, you know what I mean? Where the toddler just like starts
to stand up, or is like sitting in the chair and is like going back and forth in the chair. I'm talking about those kinds of kids. They're kicking the chair, they're kicking the seat, they're kicking your seat, and you're like, what the fuck, because they just like, to them, it's just like being in their house. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what I'm talking about, but I get it. All right, we'll go a few more minutes here, folks. We'll go a few more minutes, and then I have to skedaddle because I have some work I have to do. Amber H says, Halloween Kills was just terrible all the way, in my opinion. Least favorite of the new trilogy. Glad Cyphers got to appear once more, though. Yeah, no, it is nice that he got to appear. I wasn't a huge fan of his role in the movie. But certainly, to see him, I guess, I think what it is that because there was no interaction between him and Laurie, there was no interaction between him and anybody, really. I never felt the connective tissue because he's so much older, because he was an old man. Sure, it said bracket on his name tag, but there was no interaction with any of the legacy characters. I don't think, anyway. Because I don't think he had an interaction with Tommy or Lindsay either. So because there was no interaction, especially with Laurie, I didn't feel the connective tissue that I wanted to feel. I didn't, to me, because we're so far removed from what he looked like in the original films, to me, he just looked like an old security. I mean, I know it's Charles Cyphers. I know he's supposed to be Lee Brackett. But I didn't feel any connective tissue. I think if you had laid out, albeit maybe a small scene between him and Laurie, I think that would have at least bridged that gap a little bit. You know what I mean? I mean, I know we see him say Laurie, Laurie, okay. You know what I mean? I mean, I would have liked to have him maybe when Laurie was lying in bed, he walks in, she holds his hand, he holds her hand, and there's a brief exchange. And maybe it's interrupted by something, by the, evil dies tonight or something. I don't know. But just something to get those two on camera together, something that can bridge that canonical connectivity. It would have felt better because otherwise, I mean, I'm sorry. Hey, Michael, it's Halloween. That's not enough. That's not enough. It's not enough. You needed a bit more. So yeah, it felt, well, a lot of the cameos in that movie felt underutilized and wasted and shoehorned in for just the sake of that. There's aspects about Halloween Kills I quite like, but I still think it fails structurally. Anyways, it's all on my channel. But yeah, I would have liked to have seen more for sure. Super chat comes in from The Boogeyman is Coming, sends in $9.99, says, I saw the poster to H2O in theaters when I was 5. It looked so cool that I threw a tantrum until my mom took me to get me to shut up and teach me a lesson about scary movies. Started my love of horror. Well, see, there you go. A tantrum, right? That's the last thing we want. We do not want tantrums in movie theaters. Not to say that you did that in the movie theater, but that's cool. You were 5 when H2O came out. I was 19 when Halloween H2O came out. So bit of an age gap between the two of us, but hey, nonetheless. I do, my viewers are... It's about 50-50. A lot of my viewers do skew younger, which I find interesting. Maybe it's just because it's the internet. I'm not sure. And then the other half is my age and older, but nonetheless. Member chat from one of our great moderators and the co-host of the Slaughtered Lamb movie podcast, Frank the Tank Riker, says, I've actually watched a few kids I didn't know on airplanes while their parents went to the bathroom. I think that's kind of cool. Funny how they leave them with a guy who looks like he drives a tinted van and has free candy. It's kind of true, Frank, but maybe it's your voice, Frank. Maybe you have a caring, soft sort of, demeanor in your voice. You know what I mean? Maybe that's what it is. There's a nice softness, a nice softness to your voice. But I guess they figure that you can't take their kids anywhere, right? I mean, you're on a plane, you're traveling at, 750 kilometers an hour. You're in this metal tube zipping through the sky. Where are you going to take the kids, right?
You know what I'm saying? Unless it's like, what was that movie with Jodie Foster? Flight Plan? Was that what it was called? That was creepy. Could turn into that, I guess. But no, that's nice of you to do that. I do the same thing. I totally would do the same thing. 100%. But yeah, you know, I guess, I don't know. It's an aura, Frank. It's your aura. All right. Do I have all the super chats? I think I do. Scared Straight Production says, could you do a poll on that, Dave, on your ages that watch your videos? I'm 29. I have already. I have. Yeah, let me go back actually into my community section on my Facebook or on my YouTube channel. It was a number of weeks ago now, but let me go back because I don't post that much on the community section. So let me go to my channel. Hang on a sec here. All right, for some reason, there we go. And I will tell you, it was a poll I did a few weeks back now. Okay, that was the Why You Watch Me. Hang on a sec. Maybe it was a couple of months ago now. Was it that long ago? Oh, wow. It was a few months. Really? No, I must have missed it. Hang on. It wasn't 3 months ago, was it? Was that long ago? I'm scrolling back here. I thought I did no, hang on. Yeah, I did. It was 5 months ago. Oh, wow. I didn't realize it was 5 months ago. Anyway, so 2,000 people voted. 7% of those who voted are between the ages of 10 and 20. So that would mean that they're like, 18, 19, 20, 17. 35% of you are between the ages of 20 and 30. 32% of you are between the ages of 30 and 40. 20% of you are between the ages of 40 and 50. And 6% of you are above 50. So as you can see, there's quite a few of you that are, under 40. And a lot of you that are under 20. And I don't know what it is about me that attracts such a young audience, especially since I don't talk about a lot of things that would appeal to a young, I don't know, maybe it's my personality, maybe it's because I'm theatrical, I'm not sure, but I've always found that kind of, not that I talk about deep things that would attract an older audience, unless it's just the online entertainment landscape just skews younger. Maybe if you were to poll a lot of channels, it would be that way as well. Just because the internet, YouTube, social media, it's a thing that a lot of younger, and I don't say this as in a pretentious way or a condescending way, but it is, maybe it skews that way because a lot of younger people are online. Maybe, I'm not sure. Younger people. I'm not old, but I did find it funny. I was like, wow, 10% of people that watch me are under 20. What? Like that's, or 7%, I guess. But I find it interesting. So yeah, it's about half and half. Half the people that watch me are, 30 and under. Half the people that watch me are, 40 and over or whatever. It's interesting. It's interesting. All right, folks, listen, that is going to do it for me here on this episode of McRae Live. I want to thank, of course, my great moderators. Thank you for doing what you guys do. I really appreciate it. Thank you to all the super chats that came in today as well. I really appreciate it. Thank you to the 2 new members as well. If you want to become a member here on the channel, just hit that join button and become a member. The Boogeyman is coming. Sends in another one at the buzzer. Sends in $4.99. Thank you, buddy. Says, I watch you because you're not annoying like the younger YouTubers. Oh, well, there you go. Maybe that's why. Although there are some people that do think I'm annoying as hell. So, but hey, I'm glad you don't. Really appreciate it. And yeah, folks, listen, if you're watching after the fact, jump into the comment section. Let me know your thoughts on anything I've had to say here today, but especially, of course, Charles Cyphers, the Halloween legend. Charles Cyphers, dead at 85. Rest in peace, Sheriff Brackett, the original Sheriff Brackett. Rest in peace. Let me know your thoughts on anything I had to say here today in the comment section below, and I will be back soon with another episode, chatting away. But again, thanks everybody for tuning in this afternoon. You guys are great. You are, and I will talk to you all soon. In the meantime and in between time, I will talk to you soon. Cheers.